Hello and welcome. Today a special video about the situation in Palestine, and a reminder for all of those who want to express their opinions but who fear that their job might be threatened because their ways of expressing themselves might be misinterpreted. And it's all down to using a very rigorous language, and this is what this video is about. For example, when people say Israel, it can be interpreted in many different ways, because are you talking about the Israeli citizens? Are you talking about the Israeli government or the army? Are you talking about Jewish people? Are you talking about Judaism? It's just very easy to extrapolate, and this is why people get accused of anti-Semitism while they were only talking about the current policies of the Israeli government. The key to avoid any misunderstanding is to use a very laser-precise vocabulary and back what you're saying with facts and figures. And also thanks in advance to all the anti-Palestine trolls who will make this video much more visible. I never thought I would have to thank them, but yeah, it's just because even, this video, nothing is in my opinion. It's just cold and hard facts and figures. So if people are upset, they can be upset about the links in the description, but well, anyways, thank you. The first thing to know is that Israeli settlements are illegal under international law. So you have numerous United Nations resolutions, namely 446, 452, 465, 471, and 476, which affirm unambiguously that Israel's occupation is illegal. In particular, Resolution 446, adopted on 22nd of March 1979, has confirmed that settlements have no legal validity and pose a serious obstacle to peace. United Nations Security Council Resolution 2334 of 2016 states that Israel's settlement activity constitutes a, I quote, flagrant violation of international law and has no legal validity and are an infringement to the Geneva Convention. In 2004, an advisory opinion by the primary judicial organ of the UN, so the International Court of Justice, also found that the settlements are illegal under international law. Second, Israeli settlements are illegal under Israeli law. And yeah, you heard me right. On the 9th June 2020, the Supreme Court of Israel voided, which means made illegal, by an 8-1 decision, an attempt by the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament, to legalize occupation settlements built on unauthorized and privately owned land in the West Bank. So this is the case, if you want the reference, HCJ 1308/17 Selouad versus the Knesset, link in the description. So the petitioners alleged that the Knesset was not authorized to adopt the law because it contained arrangements that were unconstitutional and inconsistent with international law, and that's for you, paragraph 22. The current government wants to expand the borders of Israel, but here you've got the Supreme Court of Justice of the country saying, no guys, you just can't do that, it's illegal. Israel, as any other state, has a diverse range of opinions within its society and even within the government. It's not an homogeneous entity. You have Israeli citizens, politicians, academics, and even religious figures who are opposed to the illegal occupation of land. They might not be in power, they might be a minority, but they exist. And again, this is to show that the government of a country or its army does not represent its citizens. Third, Israeli policies have been recognized as a form of apartheid. In a 2007 report, the UN Special Rapporteur for Palestine, John Dugard, stated that, I quote, elements of the Israeli occupation constitute forms of colonialism and apartheid. In 2009, the Human Science Research Council of South Africa reported that Israel's policies in occupied Palestinian territories correlate almost entirely with the definition of apartheid as established in Article 2 of the International Convention of the Suppression and Punishment of the Crime of Apartheid. While the UN is widely recognized internationally, this specific entity in South Africa is also to show that even in South Africa, people are able to recognize that something's going on there. And I'm not even mentioning Nelson Mandela's quote about Palestine, which you may know. Fourth, Israel has a right-wing government which courts far-right leaders around the world and has enabled racist policies and behaviors in the society. Many Israeli politicians from the current government have or had friendly relations with leaders that are usually categorized as far-right, for example, Viktor Orban, Kaczynski, or Trump. And even the French Nationalist Party, the National Rally, regularly holds meetings in Israel. So just like Trump in the US, that particular government has enabled the amplification of racist attitudes in the society because of its discourse. And you have numerous Israeli newspapers and outlets mentioning, for example, the discriminatory practices against black Jews settled in Israel for decades, or events like the shooting of unarmed black Jewish teenagers by off-duty police officers like in 2019. In 2021, 46 black Jewish families faced deportation despite Israel having a right to return policy which automatically grants citizenship to any Jewish person. And there are numerous statistics regarding anti-black and anti-Arab racism and discrimination in Israel, which also affects the Christians, and even derogatory attitudes regarding families of Holocaust survivors. And yeah, you heard me right. I had, for my master's, a guest professor who was, he was self-describing as a leftist Zionist. And he teaches in Israel. And he would tell us that in the kibbutz and other areas, in the settlements, you have families of Holocaust survivors getting insulted by the new settlers, and like horrible insults. So that shows that there is a problem with the government unable to hold together its society. And despite claiming being a Jewish state, it does not even treat all its Jewish citizens fairly, equally. So again, this is not a religious problem, this is clearly a political one. Fifth point, the IDF, the Israeli army, itself recognizes that its soldiers are committing crimes. So several times, especially in 2013, 2017, 2019, 2021, IDF soldiers were convicted and jailed for things such as killing Palestinian civilians, stealing from Palestinian shops, or aggravated assault on Palestinian civilians. So the IDF is sadly notorious for its internal discipline problems. In 2018, for example, 1 in 15 IDF soldiers were at least jailed once for during that year, which is roughly 10,000 people. Even the army itself recognizes that some people are committing going over the limit, or committing some abuse. So the key once again is to be very specific. Instead of using the blanket term, which is Israel, talk about the Israeli government or the current policies, the Israeli army, parts of the Israeli society. And make sure you have the facts and figures to back your argument, so people cannot misinterpret you and think that you're talking about Jewish people or Judaism as a religion. And the same can be said for other concepts. What do you mean when you say Palestine? Do you mean Palestinian civilians? Do you mean the Hamas, the Fatah? Or do you even know the relationship between all of these different entities? And what do you mean when you say Zionism? Does it mean that you refute the right of for Jewish people to have their own country? Or do you mean the current expansionist policies of the Israeli government? Are you talking about the ideology, or are you talking about what people have made out of this ideology? Because again, with any philosophy, with any ideology, you have people who are the founders, who maybe write the foundational texts, but then you know that with time, people distort and make whatever they want with it. So again, let's be precise. Get to know your history as well. You know that, for example, the division of Palestine was first facilitated by the British during the colonial era. So do your research and go and find knowledge in other publications, articles, or even YouTube channels that are more specialized in history or political science. Again, this was just quick tips for people who want to express their frustration, their discontent, making sure, but who fear that the way they express themselves might have some consequences, to make sure that, look, these are the facts, these are the figures, I'm not making this up, this is not my opinion. Because the human brain likes simplicity, and in spaces like on the internet, in the comment section, we are very drawn to make things simpler, and because we're not writing an academic paper, but still, like we have seen that if we don't uphold a minimum of rigor to how we speak and what we say, well, not everyone has the patience to understand, what we mean behind these words. Express yourself, make your voice heard, but do it safely. I hope this video was useful. Again, there's much more knowledge out there. This was just like some quick tips I've noticed from all the people I know who wanted to have some tips on how can they, navigate all these comment sections, or post things in a safe way. So I hope this video was useful, and again, take care of yourselves and each other.